So once again, good morning, BSA 21. Welcome to our last day ng classes sa Strategic Cost Management. And today we're going to talk about balanced scorecards and non-financial measures in performance evaluation. Okay, so learning objectives lang before we start the discussion. So first, at the end of the session, we should be able to identify and differentiate the four perspectives of the balanced scorecard and formulate the performance indicators so that we can evaluate, monitor, and improve the business performance. So ang tinutukoy ko po na four perspectives, itong financial perspective, the customer, learning and growth, at saka internal process. Ayan. And then objective number 2, we should be able to demonstrate an understanding of how to construct and use a balanced scorecard. And then number 3, tulad ng sabi ko, we will have some computation here on operational performance measures. Ayan. So balance measures, we say balance because of some reasons. But in a firm, measures selected should be balanced between lag and lead measures. So halimbawa, if a leading indicator informs yung business leaders of how to produce yung desired outputs natin, tapos yung lagging indicator naman, that measures yung current production at saka yung performance. So example ng lag measure para mas madali tayo makarelate, lag measure yung weight loss. Tapos yung lead measures naman, ito yung mga activities that will lead to weight loss. Parang ganun. Just like diet and exercise, nako, good luck, di ba? Proper diet and exercise, di ba? It predicts the success of your weight loss. And they are the activities that can directly influence or that we can directly control or influence. Ayun. So while a lag measures tells you if you are able to achieve the goal, yung lead measure naman will tell you if you are likely to achieve the goal. Ayan. Tapos bullet number 2, yung objective and subjective measures. Pag sinabi mong objective measures, ito ay independent of the observers. Pag sinabi naman nating meaning kapag objective, meaning the measurement is done using something other than the person observing. Pero kapag subjective naman yung measures natin, dependent on the observer and usually based on the opinions, feelings, and general impression ng observer natin. Okay? So number 3, financial and non-financial measures. So dapat may balance ang financial and non-financial measures. Pag sinabi mong non-financial measures, quantitative measures din naman po siya. Kaya lang, these are not expressed in monetary units. So yung financial measures naman, ang common examples nito, that includes yung mga earnings, profit, return on assets, etc. At ang financial performance, usually financial measures rather concentrate on the attention on the short-term success factors of a business. Samantalang yung non-financial measures naman indicates deficiencies dun sa mga areas po na that can affect yung mga long-term strategic success of an organization. Tapos meron din tayong external and your internal measures. So the information which will be discussed in sa mga susunod na slides natin provides balance between the external measures tulad ng operating income, for example, at saka internal measures tulad ng kapag nagde-develop ng new product ang isang company. Ayan. So, a balanced scorecard that consists of itong integrated set of performance measures that are derived from and support a company's strategy. So, importante dito that the measures included in the company's balance scorecard ay unique po sa kanilang specific na strategy. Okay? So, the balance scorecard enables top management na matranslate its strategy into performance measures that employees understand and influence. So, dapat alam at naiintindihan ng mga employees at controllable ng mga employees yung mga performance measures na tinutukoy dito. Okay? So that includes, sabi nga natin kanina, that includes this for the financial measures, the customer's perspective, the internal business process perspective, and then the learning and growth perspective. So ito yung magiging focus ng objective number 1 natin sa discussion natin today. Okay. So financial perspective. So that here we establish the long-term and short-term financial objectives expected natin sa strategy ng organizations. Okay? And also, we describe kung ano yung mga economic consequences of action taken in the other 3 perspectives, doon sa customer, internal process, saka learning and growth. So usual example po natin dito ay yung revenue growth, cost reduction, asset utilization, or you can see the diagram. So that's revenue, expenses, net income, cash flow, and then your asset value. Ayan. So sample po ng mga objectives and measures under financial perspective. So halimbawa lang po, kung ang objective natin is to increase the number of new products, how do we measure? So the answer would be, it depends on the, kumbaga, ang titingnan natin yung percentage of revenue from new products. Okay? Paano kung ang hinahanap naman natin ay, ang objective natin is to create new applications? So how do we measure kung talaga nagpe-perform tayo? So we look at the percentage of revenues from new applications. Kapag naman ang gusto nating mangyari is to develop new customers and markets, how do we measure if we are able to do that? We look on what aspect? We look on the percentage of revenues from new sources. Kung gusto natin mag-adapt ng new pricing strategy, anong pang-measure natin? Yung product and customer profitability. So these are just examples, no? Pagdating sa cost reduction, anong objective ng organization? To reduce the unit product cost. So what do we measure para malaman natin kung na-achieve natin yung objective na yan? So we look at the unit product cost itself. Kung talagang nag-decrease yung ating unit product cost. How do we look? How do we achieve the objective na reduce unit customer cost, or how do we know if we check on the unit customer cost? Ganun lang siya sometimes baka ganun lumabas sa exam, no? Ganun lang siya simple. If we want to know if we are able to reduce yung distribution channel cost, ayan, so saan tayo tumitingin? Cost per distribution channel. Okay? Asset utilization, how do we know if ang objective natin to improve asset utilization is met? Ano yung pang-measure natin dito? This one, parang ginagawa natin to in the previous topics. So how do we measure? Pwedeng mag-compute tayo ng ROI. Okay? Ano pa? Pwede rin yung EVA, or economic value added. Okay? So those are some objectives and measures under financial perspective. Pagdating naman po sa customer's perspective, okay, so here we define yung customer and market segments. Alamin muna natin kung ano yung customer at market segments na in which the business unit will compete. Okay, and also we describe the way kung paano yung value is created for our customers. So when we say customer value, there is difference between the realization and sacrifice. Parang realization, ibig sabihin, realize, so ano ba yung nakuha ng customer or what the customer receives. Pag sinabi naman natin sacrifice, or what is given up in exchange of what the customer receives. Tapos, hindi lang yun yung value na tinutukoy natin. We also refer to the post-purchase cost, yung mga cost incurred by the customer after ng purchase. Diba? And also, yung core objectives and measures, once the customers and itong customers at segments natin are defined. Okay? So that's a customer's perspective. So dito po, ito naman yung objective natin sa customer's perspective. Ang tanong, how do we know kung na-achieve natin yung objective na to? Ano yung titingnan natin? Okay? For the increase in market share. So simply look at the market share or percentage of the market. Kumbaga, you really have to look on ano ba talaga yung pinakamagandang basis so that we can really measure kung talaga na-achieve natin yung objective natin. Increase customer retention. Ano titingnan natin? So, percentage growth ng mga existing customers or percentage ng mga repeating customers natin. Ayan. How about increase in customer acquisition? Anong measure? How do we know? We look at the number of new customers. Kumbaga, tingnan mo ilang customers na nadagdag sa atin this period na ini-evaluate natin. Increased customer satisfaction. How do we know na there is increase in the customer satisfaction? Ano yung pwede natin tingnan? So it could be yung ratings from customer surveys. Hindi ba pag may mga binibili tayo or may ina-avail na service, sometimes there are links para mag-survey yung mga customer. So doon makikita if nagkaroon ng increase in customer satisfaction by looking at the result of the ratings from customer surveys. Ayan. When we talk about increase in customer profitability, how will the company know kung nag-increase? Look at the profitability bawat customer. Okay? Ayan. Kanina ito pinag-usapan natin yung number 1, yung core, number 2, performance value, decrease in price. Look at the price. Ganun lang siya kasimple. Decrease in post-purchase cost. Look at the post-purchase cost. Ano ba yung trend? Ano ba nangyari? How do we know? Kung nag-improve yung product functionality, mahirap na i-assess to kung nangyari to kung from internal yung magiging evaluation natin or measure. So we look again at the ratings from the customer survey. Kung talaga bang nag-improve yung product functionality. Next would be improve product quality. How do we know kung nag-improve yung product quality? Percentage of returns, di ba? Kung talagang maganda yung quality ng product natin, most likely, konti lang yung mababalik or baka walang masyadong returns na magaganap ng mga products natin. And then lastly, increase in delivery reliability. How do we measure yung delivery reliability? That could be based on on-time delivery percentage o kaya aging schedule or ratings from customer surveys. Makikita rin po doon kung talaga bang nag-increase yung reliability, yung delivery reliability. Ayan po. All right. So this time, let's look on the internal business process perspective. So here, sa internal business process perspective, we describe yung mga internal processes that are needed to provide yung value for the customers, hindi lang customer, pati po sa owner ng business. Okay, so yung process value chain is defined and that includes innovation, operations, at saka post-sales service. Ito pong process value ay dinedefine natin so that we can provide yung required na framework. So pag sinabi nating value chain, sa mga companies, sa mga manufacturing companies, for example, that comprises of the steps that involve yung bringing a product from conception to distribution, pati yung mga pag-achieve natin in between tulad ng pag-procure ng raw materials, yung mga manufacturing functions at saka marketing activities. Lahat po na yon ay kasama dito sa process value chain. Okay. So how do we know if may increase in the number of new products? So pagdating sa innovation, ang objective natin talaga is magkaroon ng increase in the number of new products. But how do we measure our performance? Look at the new products or total over the number of total products And then we look also on the R&D expenses. So syempre, habang tumataas ang R&D expenses natin, meaning we are trying to develop new products po. Okay? So second objective, we increase yung mga proprietary products. Ano ba yung mga proprietary products? Ito yung mga manufactured component or yung mga products that is produced by a private person. So when we say private person, yung mga products na to, it may be protected by patent, by some trademark or copyright. Kaya po dito, sa increase of proprietary products, ang measure po natin dito, performance measure natin is we look on the percentage revenue from the proprietary products, and also tingnan din natin yung mga number of patents natin na pending. Okay. And then the decrease product development cycle time. Ano ibig sabihin ng decrease product development cycle time? Ibig sabihin po nun, ito po yung throughput yield or yung first pass yield. Ibig sabihin, it is an indicator of a line's production and quality performance. So itong first pass yield or itong product development life ay cycle time, kumbaga how long ba bago ma-market yung ating product na dinevelop. Kaya nga time to market mula sa start hanggang finish, meaning ang finish niya, it is now ready na i-release in the market. Okay, so how long does it take? And then increase process quality. So we look at the quality cost, we look at the output yields, we look also on the percentage of defective units. Okay? Itong tatlo na ito na pwede natin tingnan. So increase in process efficiency, we look at the unit cost trends. Kung increasing ba or decreasing. Siyempre kung increasing ang unit cost trends, parang hindi natin na-achieve. So dapat ang unit cost trends ay pababa so that we can say that there is increase in process efficiency. Decrease process time, that is our objective. So how do we know kung nag-decrease yung process time natin? We look at the cycle time and velocity. Tapos itong cycle time and velocity, ito po yung mga isosolve natin mamaya at saka itong MCE, Manufacturing Cycle Efficiency. Okay. And then post-sales service. We intend to increase the service quality. So paano natin malalaman kung na-increase natin service quality? First pass yields, tulad ng sinasabi ko kanina. Kumbaga, we try to calculate gaano karami ba yung number of good units without rework or scrap. Kumbaga, out of process, gaano karami yung good units, tapos when we compare with those that are mga scrap or mga kailangan ng rework. Okay? And then increase service efficiency. We look again at the cost trends and output at saka over inputs, yung baga ratio ng output and your input. And then decrease service time. We look again at the cycle time. So yan yung mga isosolve po natin dun sa learning objective number 3. Okay. Ayan. So going back, dito naman tayo sa learning and growth perspective. So here, we try to define the capabilities that an organization needs. Ano yung kailangan ng organization to create long-term growth and improvement. So the enabling factors are itong employee capabilities, that's very important. Also the information system capabilities and the attitude of the employees. So when we say learning growth perspective, we look on the employee satisfaction. If our employees are satisfied in terms of some aspects, we look at the skills of the employees kung may kailangan silang mga training. We look on the employee education if they need continuing education. And then employee turnover, dito natin makikita kung how fast do we change our employee. Kumbaga gaano kadalas nagre-resign yung mga employees natin. Now, we look at the objective and measures again. So when we say learning and perspective, ang gusto natin kasi, hindi ko pala natakpan to, no? Ang gusto natin mangyari is to increase the employee capabilities. How do we measure kung talaga nag-increase yung capabilities nila? One way is to look at the ratings, yung employee satisfaction ratings natin. Kasi may mga studies na ina-assess nila yung level of satisfaction of the employees, or merong mga survey din ng company na nag-a-assess sa mga employee nila mismo. Yung kasi kaninang sinabi ko, yung mga researches na nagtatanong or that aim to determine yung level ng satisfaction ng employee, pero sa loob ng organization kinakandak din ng iba yan. Pero yung iba hindi nagkakandak ng sariling satisfaction ratings, maybe because alam nila sa sarili nila ng management na hindi ganun kasatisfied yung mga employee. Pero if you are on the level of you are trying to improve talaga, if you look at the increased employee capabilities, you really have to check on how satisfied your employees are. And then we look on the employee turnover percentages. Kung gaano kadalas karami nagre-resign ng mga employee in a given period. Halimbawa, sa mga audit firms, gaano karami nagre-resign ng mga auditors. In a year, gaano karami, di ba? And then employee productivity, we look on the revenue per employee, and then the number of hours of training. Siyempre, if we want to increase the employee capabilities, we send them sa mga trainings and seminars. And also, we look on the strategic job coverage ratio. Ito po yung percentage ng mga critical job requirements field. Ayan. So, when we want to increase the motivation and alignment ng mga employees, one way to motivate them is to get their suggestions. That's the time that they will feel that they are involved in an organization. Di ba? Kapag wala kang role sa isang organization, sa isang grupo, you will not feel motivated. So, tinitingnan po dito, if the company is able to increase the motivation and alignment, tinitingnan dito, gaano karami ba yung suggestions ng bawat employee? Tapos, out of all those suggestions, gaano karami yung nai-implement sa organization? I remember Accenture, when they have this parang I forget the term, but they are trying to solicit kung ano yung mga suggestions ng lahat ng processors sa Accenture, so that the process, the business process, what they are doing will improve. Kumbaga, you can send as many suggestions as you can. Pwede ka mag-send. Tapos, they give reward dun sa mga suggestion na nai-implement. So, dun, binibilang kung gaano karami yung suggestions na nabigay at na-implement. Okay. So, increase information systems capabilities. Dito, we look on the percentage of processes with real-time feedback capabilities. At saka percentage of customer-facing employees with online access to customer and product information. Ayan. So, the balance scorecard, from strategy to performance measure, we really have to look first on the vision and strategy. Ano ba ang vision? Ano ba ang strategy? Parehas ba to? So vision is actually a goal. So it's not the same as the strategy, okay? And the business strategy tells you kung ano yung gagawin natin para ma-achieve natin yung goal. Kumbaga, the strategy is a plan, or parang tactics siya kung paano yung plan will be executed. And then ang end result natin ay yung ating vision or yung ang ating goal. Ayan. So, looking at the learning and growth, so we are asking if we are we maintaining our ability to change and improve? Kumbaga, the basis of these four groups of measures, itong financial, customer, internal business process, learning and growth. Yung pinaka-basis or premise nitong four groups na to is that learning is very important para ma-improve natin yung internal business process natin. Okay? So, next question is, ano bang internal business process ang critical to provide value to customers? So that would be answered with another question. Have we improved key business processes so that we can deliver more value to our customers? Okay. And then also we ask, what customers do we want to serve and how are we going to win and retain them? Okay, identify natin yung customer natin or market segments. And then we ask, do customers recognize that we are delivering more value? We try to deliver more value pero baka tayo lang nakakaalam, no? Pero hindi nila na-recognize or na-feel that they are getting more value. And then if they get more value, ang tanong, what are our financial goals? And then the question is, has our financial performance improved? So tulad ng sabi ko kanina, yung basis ng mga performance measures na to is that learning is necessary to improve internal business process. So learning and growth, importante para malaman natin kung na-improve ang internal business process. So that later on, as a result, yung level of satisfaction ng customer mag-i-improve din. And if the customers are satisfied, yung level of satisfaction ay nag-improve, ultimately, yung ating financial performance will also improve. So kanina ko pa mini-mention yung salitang improve because ina-emphasize natin yung salitang improve because we are not talking about just attaining specific objective. We are looking towards improvement palagi. Okay. So yung balance scorecard, hindi lang naman financial measures. That also include non-financial measures. So while the balance scorecards that relies on financial measures in addition to financial for some reasons. For two reasons actually. Number one reason is that yung financial measures are lag indicators. Yung non-financial measures naman are leading or lead indicators. So lag indicators yung financial measures that summarize the results of past actions, while the non-financial measures are leading indicators of future financial performance. Another reason is that yung top managers, sila yung responsible for financial performance measures. Hindi po yung lower level managers. Again, top managers po ang in charge sa financial performance measures. Now, the non-financial measures are more likely to be understood and controlled by lower level managers. Ayan. So those are the reasons kung bakit hindi lang financial measures, meron din tayong non-financial measures. And also, sabi natin, while the entire organization has an overall balanced scorecard, dapat pati yung individual din, meron din siyang a responsible individual din, dapat meron din siyang personal na scorecard. So, ang personal scorecard should contain measures that can be influenced by the individual being evaluated. So, nasa control niya. Hindi pwedeng i-measure din yung performance ng individual na beyond their control. So, lahat po ng performance ng individual dapat, again, within the influence or control of that individual. And, of course, yung individual na objectives at yung pag-measure ng performance, dapat that would support the overall balanced scorecard. Kumbaga parang there is this entire balanced scorecard, naka-divide lang sa lahat ng individuals yung tasks yung mga objectives. And then they have individual na scorecard. So dapat lahat ng individual scorecard would support the overall balanced scorecard. Okay. So the balanced scorecard, whether for an individual or for the entire company, dapat meron siyang measures that are linked together on a cost-effect basis. So parang if we improve one performance measures, then another desired performance measure will improve. Okay? So the balanced scorecard lays out concrete actions so that we can attain desired outcomes. At dapat din, kapag may balanced scorecard, dapat meron ding compensation. So incentive compensation should be linked to balanced scorecard performance measures. Okay. However, this should only be done kapag ang organization has successfully managed yung kanilang scorecard for some time. Halimbawa ngayong kumbaga pwedeng sa buong taon na successfully na manage yung scorecard, or yung iba a year or two or even more years bago magkaroon ng incentive compensation. Ayan. So dapat managers confident sila na that the measures that are in place are reliable, hindi madali ma-manipulate. Kasi baka mamaya yung mga performance measures naman natin ang dali i-manipulate. Okay? So dapat understandable din, alam din nung mga employees on how to use it, because they are being evaluated with those measures. Ayan. So, going back to the learning objective, so we're done with objective number 1. So this time, we will proceed sa objective number 2. We are going to demonstrate and understand kung paano ba gumawa at gumamit ng balance scorecard. Okay. So before that, let's talk about the strategy map. Strategy map is the tool that graphically illustrates the cause and effect relationships. Okay. Connects the balanced scorecard strategy with an organization's operating activities. Okay, so dapat talaga nakakonect sa operating activities ng organizations, and it should provide a concise and pictorial representation of the firm's strategy. And the linkages are portrayed for each of the firm's objectives, and that should show how the objectives are linked for each of the perspectives. So pakita po natin para mas maintindihan natin yung strategy map. Ito po siya. Okay? So looking at this strategy map, sa pinakababa po, employee skills in installing options. That's part of the learning and growth perspective. And as we all know, if we increase the employee skills in installing options, that is linked to the internal business process. We look on the number of options available or time to install options. Ayan. So when we say options, ano ba yung options na tinutukoy natin? Ito po yung mga details or mga dealer installed options. These are the features sa sasakyan that are installed at a dealership. So parang tinatawag din siyang dealer add-ons. So ito yung mga dealer installed options. These are items that are added to a car at a dealership. Hindi po siya kasama sa this don't have to be approved by the yung automaker, yung mismong gumagawa ng sasakyan. Okay? And typically these are not covered under any manufacturer warranties. Okay. We're looking on the balance scorecard of Kia Motors, pero hindi naman talaga ito yung balance scorecard nila. This is just an example. So, employee skills in installing those dealer add-ons or options, part of learning growth. Learning and growth. Internal business processes, that includes yung number of options available at saka gaano ba katagal i-install yung options na yan. So yan yung ating part ng internal business process. Sa customer naman, so syempre, kapag maraming options available, marami tayong add-ons sa sasakyan at saka mabilis yung time to install. So that would lead or link now That would link now sa customer perspective. We look on the number of cars sold. Mas maraming cars ba na nabebenta because mabilis tayo mag-install ng mga options. And that will happen if the customers are satisfied with those options. And also, the under financial perspective, we look on the contribution per car, yung contribution margin natin. And ultimately, how much is our profit? Or what is the change in our profit or increase in our profit? Okay. Ang strategies natin dito, yung employee skills in installing options, we have to increase that. So by sending the employees to trainings or hiring skilled employees, ayan. And then we also want to increase the options and to decrease naman yung time to install option. As a result, yung satisfaction ng customer natin would increase, di ba? And if the satisfaction of the customers increases, the number of cars sold also increases. And if that happens, given the the decrease in the time to install option, satisfied naman yung mga customers natin, the contribution margin increase. And ultimately, if the number of cars sold increases, the amount of contribution margin per car increases, the profit will ultimately the profit will increase. Ayan. So, yan po yung sample lang ng paggawa ng balance scorecard, or we are trying to come up with a strategy map. Okay? So, we are trying to improve based on the four perspective po. So, that is how all these strategies are mapped, or that is how all these strategies are being managed so that the results would be achieved. And going back to the learning objective, so we're done with number 1 and number 2. We will now proceed with the computation of some operational performance measures. Okay, the first one, delivery performance measures. So ito po yung timeline natin, no? Magmula sa pag-receive natin ng order, tas dito tayo nag-receive ng order, dito tayo nag-start ng production natin, dito tayo nag-ship ng ating goods. Okay? So, this is the wait time mula sa pag-receive natin ng mula sa pag-receive natin ng orders natin. So, we have to wait for the ano tawag dito sa production order para mag-start yung production natin. And then after that, tsaka natin ipaprocess. Kasama na rin dyan yung inspection time while we are manufacturing our product. That also includes some move time at saka mga queue time. Okay? Now, mula sa pag-receive natin ng order hanggang sa goods ay ma-ship, that is what we call delivery cycle time. Okay? Mula naman sa pag-process natin hanggang sa ma-ship natin yung goods sa customers natin, that is what we call throughput time. So that includes process time, inspection time, move time, and queue time. Tapos kanina pa po nakalagay ito dito sa baba. Yung process time po is the only value-added time. If you remember in our activity-based costing system and activity-based management, yung po talagang process lang ang mga value-adding activities. So here, yung mga inspection, move time, queue time, part po yan ng mga non-value adding or non-value added na mga times. Ayan. Now, how do we solve for cycle time and velocity? At saka ano ba tong cycle time and velocity na yan? Ang cycle time po is the time required to produce a product. So yung velocity naman, number of units of output that can be produced in a given period of time. So how do we solve for cycle time or manufacturing cycle time? So that would be the time over the number of units produced. Pero pag tinignan mo yung velocity, baliktad po. Units produced, units produced over the time or given period of time. So baliktad lang po yung formula nilang dalawa. All right. Calculate calculating cycle time and velocity sample problem lang po. So assume that the company has a following data for one of its manufacturing cells. So ang theoretical velocity, number of units per hour, so 40 units per hour po tayo. And then, ang productive minutes available po natin ay, excuse me, 1,200,000 minutes. Okay? And then, the annual conversion cost is 4,800,000. And then, actual velocity is 30 units per hour. So, ang theoretical is 40 units per hour, pero ang actual velocity natin is yung number of units produced per over a given period of time is just 30 compared to the theoretical. Questions. We have to calculate the actual conversion cost per unit using the actual cycle time and standard cost per minute. Number 2, we have to calculate the ideal conversion cost per unit using the theoretical cycle time and the standard cost per minute. So I have here again yung problem so that we can solve now. Nilagay ko ulit dito sa slide na to. So assume that the company has this data. So question number 1, we have to calculate the actual conversion time using actual time and standard cost per minute. Okay? So kunin muna natin yung actual cycle time. Ano nga uli yung cycle time? So that would be yung 60 minutes over 30 units. Kumbaga, this is 30 units per hour. So when we compute for the actual cycle time, baliktarin lang natin. So 2 minutes per unit po ang actual cycle time natin. And then we get the standard cost per minute. Magkano ba yung cost natin? 'Di ba? 4.8 million ang conversion cost natin. Tapos available na minutes natin ay 1,200,000. Kaya ang standard cost per minute ay 4 pesos. Kaya to answer the problem, what is the actual conversion cost per unit? So that would be, multiply lang natin yung actual cycle time at saka yung standard cost per minute. So 4 times 2, so that would be 8 pesos per unit. That's a conversion cost natin. Okay. Question number 2. Calculate naman yung ideal conversion cost. Kanina actual conversion cost. So how do we solve for that? Una, kunin natin yung theoretical cycle time. Mukhang alam nila yung dapat gawin. So 60 minutes over 40 units. Okay? Dito naman po ang tingin natin. Okay? So ibig sabihin, to produce 1 unit, we need 1.5 minutes. Ito po yung theoretical cycle time natin. And then we compute again the conversion cost per unit. So 4 pesos times 1.5, saan galing yung 4? Yung galing sa standard conversion cost per unit natin kanina. Okay? Times 1.5, so that's 6 pesos per unit. So ang conversion cost natin based sa actual ay 8 pesos per unit. Pero based on the theoretical velocity, ang conversion cost po natin ay 6 pesos per unit. Ang tanong po dito, what incentive exists for managers when cycle time costing is used, or what opportunity exists? So meaning, the opportunity is to reduce the cycle time because it reduces the cost per unit. So dapat ma-reduce natin yung cycle time. How do we reduce the cycle time? Di ba ang cycle time kasama yung mga non-value added na mga time or activities? Ibig sabihin, if we can reduce the non-value adding activities, that's the time that we can reduce the cycle time and thus reducing the cost per unit. Okay. Let's have another example. Okay. Excuse me, operational measures of responsiveness, manufacturing cycle efficiency or MCE. So ang formula po niyan is the processing time. 'Di ba na-mention natin? Processing time is part of the throughput time, 'di ba? Tapos yung nasa ilalim, lahat ng throughput time. Ano yung lahat ng throughput time na to? Over the processing time, plus move time, inspection time, waiting time, at non value added time. Lahat po ng yan. So that's the MCE. So processing time, ibig sabihin efficient or ideal time it takes to convert materials into finished goods. Other activities na tinutukoy natin dito and their times are viewed as wasteful. Ang goal po natin is to reduce the time of other activities to zero. That's the goal. Pero syempre, it's not that achievable na walang inspection time, waiting time. Pero syempre, to reduce the time or somehow to eliminate yung some other non-value adding activities so that we can reduce the non-value added time. So let's have this example. This is an illustration kung saan nanggaling yung ating manufacturing cycle efficiency. Di ba ito yung pinakita natin na diagram kanina? This part is the only value added time. Tapos, divided by the manufacturing cycle time. Okay? Ayan. So let's have this example. A company has provided the following information for one of its products for each hour of production. So actual velocity, 100 units per hour. So ang move time po natin ay 20 minutes, inspection time ay 15 minutes, rework time ay 10 minutes. So all in all, lahat ng mga ibang time na to ay ilang oras? 35, 45 minutes. Ayan. We are asked to calculate the MCE and comment on its significance. And afterwards, we are asked to compute for the theoretical cycle time. Okay? Now, so ito po yung first question. Compute for the MCE. Una, alamin na natin yung process time. So kanina, di ba, na-determine natin na itong mga ima-minus natin ay 45 minutes. Move time, inspection time, and rework time. Ang process time po natin, kasi di ba 100 units per hour in an hour. So ima-minus po natin yung mga other, yung mga move time, inspection time, at rework time. So meaning the process time is only 15 minutes. Kaya naman, to get the MCE or manufacturing cycle efficiency, that's the process time over all this all these times. Ayan. Process, move, inspection, and rework time. And then that would be 15 over itong mga ito. Ito ay 60 minutes, 15 over 60. So that would give you 0.25 na MCE or manufacturing cycle efficiency. So ano po yung significance nito? Yung a value of 0.25, ibig sabihin, may 75% of the manufacturing cycle that is attributable to waste. So ang gusto natin mangyari dito, yung MCE mapataas sa mapataas so that itong percent of manufacturing cycle time na attributable sa waste ay pababa ng pababa. Okay? So kaya nga po, kapag na-eliminate natin or nababawasan yung mga ito, so tumataas po yung MCE or manufacturing cycle efficiency natin. All right. So let's have number 2. Ano ang theoretical cycle time? And we have to calculate the MCE using kumbaga kanina using actual, ngayon naman using theoretical cycle times. Ang theoretical cycle time ay 15 over 100 units. Bakit 15 over 100 units? Kasi itong 100 units na to, ang process time lang talaga niya ay 15 minutes. Kumbaga, the theoretical cycle time per unit would be 0.15 lang ng minute per unit. Okay? Now, ang actual cycle time po natin ay 60 minutes over 100 units. Kumbaga 0.6 po, 0.6 minutes. Tapos ang ating manufacturing cycle efficiency could also be computed if we divide the theoretical cycle time by the actual cycle time. If we do that, so that would be 0.15 over 0.6. The answer, the answer would be the same, 0.25 po. Actually, parang ano lang din siya eh. If we do our math, Parang dinivide natin theoretical over actual. Ayan, 15 over 60 lang din naman yon, katulad ng ginawa natin in the previous item. Kumbaga, nagkaroon lang ng denominator parehas ng 100 units. Magagamit natin yung formula na to if yung ibang data like yung ibang data ay hindi available. So pag binigay sa iyo yung theoretical cycle time, i-divide lang natin ang actual cycle time, so that would give you the MCE as well. Kumbaga, this is another formula or way of computing the MCE. Ayan. So, quick check lang. I'd like you to put your answers in our chat box. TQM team at Gapido Corporation has recorded the following average times for production. So, wait time, 3 days. Inspection, 0.4 days. Process, 0.2 days. Move, 0.5. Queue, 9.3 days. Ang tanong, what is the throughput time? Sige nga. May I know your answer? Please put that in the chat box. So pakalagay po, number 1, and then yung letter ng inyong answer. So what is the throughput time? Tingnan ko nga. Letter A. So lahat naman po ay nagsagot ng letter A. All right, so that's a throughput time. Sabi natin, that includes the process, inspection, move, at saka yung queue. Ayan, so 10.4 days. Next, what is the manufacturing cycle efficiency? Same problem. What is the manufacturing cycle efficiency? So in our chat box, please put 2 space your answer. So titingnan ko po. Yan. So what is the manufacturing cycle time? All right. Puro B ang sagot this time, 1.9%. So what's the answer? Let's reveal. Yeah, correct. So MCE or manufacturing cycle time, that is just the value added time over the throughput time. Or the process time, di ba sabi natin, the process time is the only valid value added time. Kaya 0.2 days, ayan, 0.2 days divided by the entire throughput time na na-solve natin kanina, so that would be 1.9%. Another one, what is the delivery cycle time? So in our chat box, 3 answer, 3 space answer. What is the delivery cycle time? Lagi lang po sa chat box kung ano yung answer natin. Alright, may mga answers na ulit. So ganyan lang naman mga tanungan or isosolve dito sa balance scorecard. So 3, it's letter C. Parang inisa-isa ko lang yung choices, no? So that would be the delivery cycle time is yung wait time at saka throughput time, or i-add mo lahat ng times natin dito. The delivery cycle time again starts from the order hanggang sa order excuse me, ma-receive natin yung order natin hanggang sa ma-ship din natin yung goods natin to our customers. That's the delivery cycle time. All right, so thank you very much. If you have some questions, you may keep in touch by sending an email to rcroque@pup.edu.ph. So thank you for attending today's session.